What if the most boring questions held the keys to the most haunting truths? What if mirrors showed your soul and dreams could take your life? Tonight, you're not just falling asleep. You're slipping quietly into a world where every what if reshapes your reality. Softly, silently, like a whisper behind your thoughts. Before we begin, let us know what time it is where you are and where in the world you're watching from. And if you find comfort in this quiet unraveling, tap subscribe so we can meet here again in the stillness. Now, dim the lights, adjust the pillow beneath your head, and gently close your eyes. You're not just resting, you're entering a world of soft questions with sharp edges, a bedtime story. Yes, but one stitched together from everything you've tried not to think about. Let's begin. What if you were trapped inside a submarine, deep beneath the ocean's surface, and you were the only one left? It starts with a hum, just the steady rhythm of the engine, the soft beeping of control panels, and the creak of steel as the submarine glides through the dark. You've done this 100 times. You know the sound of safety. But then, suddenly, that hum becomes a roar. Something strikes the hull. Maybe it's a malfunction. Maybe it's something else. The floor jolts beneath your feet. Alarms go off. Lights flicker. They're shouting. Commands. Chaos. And then, silence. You wake up, lying on the cold floor. The red emergency lights cast everything in shadows. The air is heavy, thick with moisture. Your ears ring. You try to stand. One leg is numb. You look around and realize no one else is moving. You're alone. You check systems. Life support is failing. Power is running low. Water is rising slowly at the far end of the vessel. You're sinking, inch by inch, second by second. The ocean is pulling you down, and no one knows you're here. You don't panic. Not yet. You remember your training. You count your breaths. You take inventory. Oxygen levels are dropping. Communications are offline. Escape protocols were designed for crew operations, but there's no crew left. It's just you. You start moving, slow, careful. You crawl through tight spaces, past fallen beams, sparking wires, overturned chairs. You search for tools, for answers, for a way out. Every sound is magnified in the silence. The drip of water, the groan of the hull, the beat of your own heart. You reach the escape hatch, but the pressure outside is too strong. If you open it now, the ocean will crush you in seconds. You'll have to wait. Time it right. Use the emergency buoy. Calculate the rise. You only get one chance. You go back. You gather what you need. Oxygen tank, thermal suit, flares. You patch a leak with trembling hands. You whisper to yourself, just to hear a voice. The clock keeps ticking. Your body aches. Your fingers are numb. You're cold, but you're still thinking. still planning. You've never felt so close to death, but never so alive. Then comes the moment. You brace yourself at the hatch. You initiate the release sequence. You feel the submarine groan as it gives way to the crushing pressure outside. Water surges in, cold and fast. You hold your breath. You launch. The darkness swallows you. You're rising, fast, faster than you thought possible. Your chest burns. Your eyes sting, but you hold on. You see nothing, just black all around. You don't even know which way is up anymore. Then, a faint glow above. The surface. You break through. Air. Real air. Stars above you. The sky never looked so strange, so far, so silent. You float there, alone, in the vast ocean. But you made it. Somehow, you made it. And yet, you're not the same. You carry the silence of the deep inside you now. The pressure, the stillness, the echo of steel groaning in the dark. You're alive, but something in you remains below, still waiting, still listening. What if you had to escape from a sinking submarine alone? Would you break? Or would you rise? Slowly, painfully, but alive. What if you got lost in the Amazon rainforest? Not for a few hours or a couple of days, but for 4 entire years. It begins like a story that wasn't supposed to happen. You're there on a research trip, just for a week. There's a guide, a team, maps, gear, and all the confidence in the world. You're deep in the most alive, untamed part of Earth, but you feel safe until you don't. One wrong turn. That's all it takes. Maybe you stepped a little too far to take a photo, or just wandered slightly off trail. The leaves crunch beneath your boots. The light shifts between the trees. You turn back, but the path is gone. Not misplaced. Gone. Like it never existed. You shout. You wait. Nothing. The first day, you stay calm. You have some supplies. You remember what you've learned from documentaries and books. You reassure yourself, people get lost all the time. Someone will find you. But they don't. The days blur. Your radio dies. Your food runs out. You drink from streams and tell yourself it's safe. You try to follow the sun, but clouds cover everything. You carve marks into trees, but you keep walking in circles. You scream until your voice is raw, but the jungle swallows every sound you make. It rains without warning. It rains sideways, It rains even when the sky is blue. Your clothes never dry. Your skin softens and breaks. Insects crawl over your body like you're part of the forest now. And slowly, you are. You stop waiting to be rescued. You stop counting the days. Hunger becomes a dull companion. Loneliness becomes a blanket. You start talking to yourself, not for comfort, but for survival. Just to hear something human. But you don't die. You learn. You adapt. You sleep in trees. You eat things you never thought you could. You learn to move with the jungle instead of fighting it. The forest stops being your enemy. It becomes your world. Your mind quiets. Your thoughts slow down. You stop dreaming of escape. You start dreaming of firewood, of dry leaves, of silence. Then one day, 4 years later, it happens. You hear something different. A voice. Not yours. Not imagined. Real. A search team. A rescue. The world you forgot rushes back in. You brought home, but everything feels strange. The lights are too bright. The walls are too clean. People talk too fast. They smile too much. They want you to explain everything. But how do you explain what it feels like to truly disappear? You try to sleep in a bed. You try to eat with a fork. You try to watch television. But part of you is still there, deep in the vines, listening to birds scream at midnight, watching snakes move through leaves, feeling your heartbeat slow to match the rhythm of trees. And the strangest thing is you miss it, because in the jungle, you had nothing, no schedule, no screens, no rules. But every breath mattered. Every step meant survival. Every day had a purpose. Now, you wake up to alarms, emails, small talk. You look around and wonder, did you ever really make it back? What if you were a soldier, caught behind enemy lines, captured, alone, and tortured for information? It begins in the noise. Gunfire, dust, orders shouted through the chaos. You and your unit are moving through unfamiliar territory. Then a blast, a sharp, searing pain, darkness. When you wake up, everything is quiet. Too quiet. Your hands are tied. Your gear is gone. You're not in uniform anymore, just stripped down, broken down, somewhere in the dark. The room smells like rust and sweat. There's one dim light bulb swinging overhead. It flickers like it's afraid of the silence. Then the questions start. First, calmly. Names, numbers, coordinates. You're trained for this. You keep your jaw clenched. You say nothing. They try again and again. They keep you awake for days. You don't know when it's morning or night. They blast sounds that drill into your ears. Sometimes it's screaming. Sometimes it's silence. You lose track of time. Your mind becomes fog, then fire, then ice. But still, You don't speak. They take you to another room. There are tools there, metal ones, sharp ones, cold ones, and they don't even have to use them at first. They just show them to you. They let your imagination do the damage, and it does. Your hands shake, but you stay quiet. You remind yourself, if you talk, people die. Your people, your brothers, your sisters. You tell yourself that again and again. But your body has limits, and your mind, though strong, begins to crack in places you didn't know existed. Then come the tricks. One day, someone walks in, speaking your language, friendly, gentle. They offer water, a blanket. They say it's over. They say you're free. They just want to help. They ask small questions, harmless ones, but they're not harmless. And you know that, so you say nothing. Again. But each day chips away at you. Each hour in that cell whispers lies to your mind that no one's coming, that no one remembers you, that the war moved on without you. You wonder if you were left behind on purpose. And yet, you don't break. You count breaths. You count heartbeats. You tell yourself stories to stay sane. You talk to shadows. You make up lives for the ants on the floor. You remember your training. But more than that, you remember your reason, why you were there, who you swore to protect. And then, one day, it ends. They open the door. They throw a sack over your head. You feel a vehicle, wheels, air, a voice. Then daylight. You're rescued. But you don't feel free. You go home. You sit in chairs that are too soft. You hear music that feels wrong. People speak to you, but you can't answer. Your body is safe, but your mind is still locked in that room, still waiting, still fighting, and no one truly understands. They call you brave. They call you a hero. But what you really want is sleep. Real sleep. Not the kind where you jolt awake gasping. The kind that's deep, kind, dreamless. What if you were a soldier, captured, tortured, and you never told them a word? Maybe the hardest part wouldn't be the pain. Maybe it would be learning how to live again in a world that no longer feels real. What if you were the last person on Earth for 10 years? What if you woke up and the world was empty? No noise, no movement, no messages. Just a still, frozen silence that wrapped around every street, every city, every sky. At first, you wouldn't believe it. You'd walk outside, expecting to see someone, anyone, a neighbor, a stranger, a car passing by. But nothing comes. You shout. Your voice echoes and fades. You check your phone. No signal. The news stopped long ago. You wait. You wait. Longer. And then you accept it. You are alone. The first few weeks feel like a strange kind of freedom. No more traffic. No more deadlines. You walk into stores and take what you need. You drive through empty highways, windows down, music up, even if no one's around to hear it. For a while, it feels like a dream, but dreams always end. You start to notice the little things. Trash piling up in the streets, power grids failing, nature taking back what it lost, plants growing through cracks in the concrete, animals moving freely through once busy malls and airports, civilization fading, not with violence, but with silence. Hunger becomes a game of resourcefulness. You teach yourself to farm, to filter water, to read old books just to survive. You learn to fix things with whatever you can find. The internet is gone. So is the idea of time. Days blend together. Holidays pass without meaning. You find a routine. Mornings in the garden. Afternoons repairing broken things. Evenings sitting on rooftops, watching stars that once belonged to someone else. But the silence grows heavier. You miss the sound of laughter, of conversation, of someone calling your name. You forget the texture of another person's voice. You wonder if you even sound the same anymore. Then come the birthdays. You stop counting them. You avoid mirrors. You forget what you used to look like when you smiled. You leave messages on walls, on paper, in journals, hoping maybe one day someone will find them, hoping they'll know you were here. Sometimes you imagine faces. You talk to them, laugh with them, apologize to them when you cry. And through it all, you wonder, why you? Why were you spared? Was it a mistake? A punishment? Or something else? You search for answers. You travel across countries. You visit places you'd only seen in pictures before. The Eiffel Tower, the Grand Canyon, the ruins of cities once overflowing with life. Now, just echoes. 10 years pass. You no longer search every street with hope. You walk slower, talk less even to yourself, but something inside you still burns quietly. A small flame. It's not hope exactly. It's more like memory. The memory of what once was. The memory of being part of something bigger. And one morning, as the sun rises over an overgrown skyline, you see it, a smoke trail in the distance. Thin, faint, but real. You run. What if you were the last person on Earth for 10 years? Would you fall into the silence What would you carry the sound of humanity with you? Until someone answered back. What if humans didn't have eyes? What if you were born into a world where no one had eyes? Not just blind, but evolved that way. No sockets, no colors, no light, just darkness everywhere. Always. Not something you lost, but something you never knew. Would you miss the stars if you never saw them? In this world, everything changes. Cities don't rise around views. They grow inward, built by touch and sound. Skyscrapers don't compete with the sky. There is no sky. Only echo. Only pressure. Only the memory of voices bouncing off stone. People meet not by glancing, but by listening. Carefully, deeply. You don't fall in love with a smile. You fall in love with a voice, a rhythm, a heartbeat across the room that matches your own. You don't say, "Look at me." You say, "Hear me." Beauty isn't something seen. It's something felt. And yet in this darkness, there's no fear of shadows, no judging gaze, no obsession with mirrors, or skin, or surface. Fashion becomes texture, not color. Status is no longer shaped by how you look, but by how you move through the world. Language itself transforms. No more phrases like "see what I mean" or "watch closely." Instead, do you sense this? Can you feel the pattern? And imagination takes a new form, one not limited by light. Dreams are shaped by vibration, scent, memory. But with no eyes, how do we learn? Not from books or screens, but from stories. From elders who pass knowledge like rituals. From music that teaches history. From hands pressed against cave walls to trace maps the way veins carry blood. And science, innovation, they still exist, but the tools are different. Machines hum, not flash. Warnings come in pulses, not lights. Technology adapts to a species that has never once seen a sunrise and doesn't need to. But not everything is easy. Trust is harder. You can't see intentions, only feel them. Danger is closer, always. Without vision, we rely on instinct, on collective awareness, on silence. The world becomes more intimate, but also more vulnerable. Still, we survive. We build art from sound. We dance by pressure. We celebrate with vibrations that run through the floor like thunder. And deep within us, there's a hunger. Not a hunger for light, because we've never known it, but a hunger for something else, something ancient, a mystery that echoes in the bones, and sometimes, just sometimes, Someone dreams of a shape they've never touched, a brightness they can't describe, a color that doesn't exist, a flicker, a flame, a burning question. What if there was something more? And even without eyes, we chase it. Because vision was never only about sight. It was always about what we reach for in the dark. So what if humans didn't have eyes? Maybe we'd see each other more clearly than we ever have before. What if all animals could fly? Imagine stepping outside your home and the sky isn't empty. It's crowded, alive, a silent ballet of creatures you've only ever seen on land. Now above your head, drifting, gliding, soaring. A lion weightless, mane unraveling in the wind like golden fire. A wolf pack threading through the clouds, hunting in midair. An elephant, slow and graceful, moving through the sky like a floating island, its shadow swallowing fields below. What if every animal could fly? The earth would grow quieter, forest floors untouched, deserts undisturbed. Trees would stretch taller, unburdened by those who once climbed them. And humans, we'd look up more often, not out of wonder, but out of fear. Because survival changes when the threat comes from above. A crocodile with wings isn't just a beast. It's a storm, a predator with no borders. Farms would vanish. Roofs would turn to bunkers. Cities would evolve with netted skies. We'd live beneath shields of wire and steel, constantly listening for the low flutter of something massive circling overhead. You wouldn't jog in the park. You'd whisper indoors. And yet, in this terrifying beauty, something else would emerge. The bond between creatures and the sky would become sacred. Children wouldn't dream of riding horses. They'd dream of soaring on the back of a cheetah, streaking through the clouds like a missile. Zoos would no longer be cages, but floating habitats drifting over oceans. Birds wouldn't be the only messengers. Gorillas would deliver forest wisdom by gliding across continents. Deer would migrate through the mist above mountains. The sky would become a second Earth, layered, pulsing, alive. And in time, we'd adapt. We'd grow jealous. We'd invent new wings, not to escape the ground, but to join this great migration above it, to ride beside the animals we once ruled from below, not as masters, but as equals, maybe even as students, because flight changes more than movement. It changes perspective. We'd stop seeing animals as below us, literally and figuratively. When you look a tiger in the eye at your altitude, something shifts. Your pride, your assumptions, your sense of safety, everything becomes more fragile, more honest, and maybe more beautiful. Imagine the silence of a midnight sky filled with flying elephants, slow and glowing with bioluminescent skin. Imagine the thrill of racing a flying jaguar through the storm clouds. Imagine the sorrow of watching a flock of foxes vanish into a lightning strike. It would be dangerous, chaotic, unimaginable, but also unforgettable. Because in a world where all animals could fly, we'd finally realize something we forgot: that the sky was never meant for just one species. And maybe, just maybe, it never was about escaping the ground, but about learning how to rise with everything that once walked beside us. What if we rode dinosaurs instead of horses? Close your eyes for a moment. Imagine the world, not with roads filled by cars or cities built for machines, but with thunder in the ground, the earth trembling beneath the weight of something ancient. Not engines, not hooves, but claws, scales, breath. What if we never tamed horses because we never needed to? What if dinosaurs had never gone extinct and instead they became our companions? Picture a child riding to school on the back of a small velociraptor, its claws tapping against the sidewalk like soft percussion. Farmers plowing fields with ankylosaurs, dragging stone blades behind them. Soldiers, not in tanks, but on armored triceratops, charging forward beneath stormy skies. Cities would be different, streets wider, buildings taller, reinforced not just for earthquakes, but for tail swipes and towering creatures with restless legs. Parking lots wouldn't be for cars. They'd be for resting dinosaurs, snorting steam from their nostrils as they wait, always half wild. And imagine the sound. Not traffic, but low growls, bone-rattling footsteps, the occasional screech of a pterosaur gliding above the rooftops, its wings slicing through clouds like blades. The world wouldn't feel safe. It would feel alive. But there's a cost to walking beside monsters. Domestication wouldn't erase danger. Riding a dinosaur is not like taming a horse. It's riding a memory of extinction, a beast that lived in fire and thunder. You'd need more than a saddle. You'd need respect and fear and trust. Only the brave would climb atop a T-Rex, not because they could control it, but because they understood they couldn't. And yet, there would be beauty. Imagine watching a parade of brontosaurs move across a frozen lake at dawn, each step breaking the ice in perfect rhythm. Imagine flight schools for kids who train with flying dinosaurs, wings folded beside them as they leap from mountain ledges. We wouldn't race in cars. We'd race through valleys on the backs of horned beasts, each moment hanging between chaos and control. And in this world, the bond between rider and dinosaur wouldn't just be power. It would be survival, partnership, something ancient reborn. But something else changes too: our relationship with nature. You can't treat a world like a machine when your very life depends on the rhythm of a creature that lived through extinction. You don't poison a river your dinosaur drinks from. You don't scorch a forest. Your companion calls home. We would become softer in some ways, harsher in others, more primal, more patient, and maybe more in awe. Because riding a dinosaur isn't just a fantasy. It's a reminder that the past isn't gone. It's sleeping just beneath the surface of who we are. And every step we take in this imagined world is a step closer to remembering the wildness we've forgotten. So, what if we rode dinosaurs instead of horses? Maybe, just maybe, we'd remember what it feels like to live in a world that doesn't belong to us alone. What if the clock was never invented? What if no one ever looked at the sky and tried to count it? No gears, no ticking, no hands circling a face that never blinks. Just time, wild and unmeasured, like wind. A world without clocks. No minutes to chase. No alarms to break the silence of morning. Just life. At first, it sounds like freedom. You wake not to a number, but to sunlight brushing against your eyelids. You eat when you're hungry. You rest when your bones feel heavy. There's no pressure to squeeze every hour. No guilt for slowing down. Time becomes feeling, not discipline. But something shifts. Imagine a world where no one is late, because there is no late. Meetings happen when they happen. Trains don't run on time. They run when they're ready. Your birthday becomes a season, not a date. School begins at dawn, or when the teacher arrives, whichever comes first. Without clocks, routine dissolves, predictability fades, and slowly, a different kind of tension grows. Because while we escaped the page of minutes, we also lost the map. Humans begin to measure life in shadows, in seasons, in the position of the sun or the curve of the moon. But these are whispers, not instructions. Without clocks, long-distance travel becomes chaos. Medicine loses precision. The world grows softer, but also messier. Still, something beautiful blooms. You start to listen to your body, to the weather, to others. You look at someone and sense their rhythm. You wait with more patience. You speak with more presence, because there's no countdown hovering above your words, no clock demanding you move on. Art thrives because creativity was never meant to obey a stopwatch. Music stretches. Painting becomes an endless process. Writers vanish into their stories for days, re-emerging not when the clock permits, but when the soul says now. But productivity stumbles. There are no work shifts, no deadlines. Factories struggle. Global meetings become impossible. The fast world slows, and the slow world breathes. It's as if someone pressed pause on the madness and let everything settle. Yet in this stillness, anxiety doesn't vanish. It morphs. Instead of asking, "What time is it?" we begin asking, "Is it too late? Too early? Have I missed something?" The absence of clocks doesn't erase fear, it just makes it quieter, more haunting. Because without clocks, we never know how long we've truly lived or how much we have left. Time becomes a ghost. We feel it, but never see it. So what if the clock was never invented? Maybe we'd be freer. Maybe we'd lose control. Maybe both. But one thing is certain. We'd be forced to live, not by the minute, but by the moment. What if sound was visible and light was audible? Imagine waking up and the world looks different. You open your eyes and suddenly you see sound. Every whisper, every footstep, every heartbeat, not just heard, but glowing, shimmering, alive in the air. Words ripple through the room like waves in water. Laughter pulses in soft gold. Anger flashes like lightning. A bird's song drifts by in pastel trails, dancing over rooftops. And then, light. It no longer shines, it speaks. The sunrise doesn't just brighten your face, it hums a slow, warm chord like a cello stretching into the morning. Moonlight, it sings, a haunting lullaby that echoes in your chest. Each color carries its own melody. Every flicker of neon, every flick of a candle's flame is a note in the air. You can't hide anymore. Dot, that angry thought you muttered under your breath, it explodes in red sparks across the room. Your lie? It glows a sharp, unnatural green. Truth? It's quiet, almost invisible, but it hums deep and low, like something eternal. You begin to realize that sound isn't just noise. It's shape, it's movement, it's history, laid out in curves and currents. You watch music bend and swirl around people. You see love in symphonies of violet and silver, arguments etched in jagged black. And now, light has a voice, every shadow has a tone, every sunrise has a song, stars murmur in tiny, distant whispers. The aurora borealis doesn't just appear, it sings across the sky in cascading harmonies. The world is louder now, but also more honest. You notice things you never did before. The silence between two people in a room is now a flat, gray stillness. Not cold, but empty. The quiet, after loss, hums like a low, aching note, vibrating through your chest. Joy? Joy radiates. It's both seen and heard. It floods the air with color and harmony. You can't fake it. You can't contain it. And when someone laughs from the heart, you don't just hear it. You watch it bloom like sunlight through stained glass. But there's a price. Too much noise becomes overwhelming. Cities look like storms. Arguments leave scars on the air. lies leave a residue. You start to crave stillness, not silence, but purity. The soft hum of a candle, the gentle sound of dusk. You begin to speak less, listen more. You start to treat words like fire, because now you see the burn. So what if sound was visible and light was audible? Maybe the world would become more chaotic, but maybe, just maybe, we'd finally learn to speak with intention, to see what we've been blind to hear what's always been silent. And maybe, in this strange new world, truth wouldn't just be something we seek. It would be something we see. What if gravity worked sideways? Close your eyes for a second and picture it. Not falling down, but falling to the side. Not the floor pulling you in, but the walls. The right wall of your bedroom becomes the ground. Your bed, your desk, your shelves, all sideways. Your window, now a ceiling. The sky is still above you, but not where it used to be. You wake up and everything has shifted. Your first steps feel like crawling along the side of a cliff. Streets are vertical. Trees grow sideways. Water doesn't flow down, it runs across walls and spills horizontally. Rivers wind like blue ribbons through the air, clinging to invisible paths. Walking becomes climbing. Falling feels endless. You don't trip and hit the ground anymore. You slip and slide into entire city blocks if you're not anchored. The architecture of everything must change. Doors rotate. Stairs twist like spirals. Furniture clings to surfaces with suction or magnets. People don't live on top of the earth anymore. They live around it, on the sides of mountains, along the faces of skyscrapers. Civilization wraps the planet like vines around a trunk. But here's where it gets stranger. Bodies adapt. Your sense of direction rewires. Muscles strengthen in different places. The horizon isn't a line you look out at anymore. It's a wall you constantly climb toward. Socially, psychologically, things shift. Being grounded means something else now. People who cling too tightly to old ways start to feel unstable, like they could slip away at any moment. And those who learn to balance, to trust the sideways pull, they find a new kind of peace. Gravity becomes not just a force, but a perspective. So think about what that does to relationships. Friendships form across surfaces. Cities are no longer above or below each other, but the side, across, wrapped around. Our understanding of borders begins to dissolve. We are all literally on the same level, pulled by the same force, just in different directions. And imagine this: In this world, falling in love might mean drifting sideways into someone's orbit. Being lost doesn't mean you sink. It means you've slipped too far to one side. And coming back, that's a journey through invisible corridors, navigating gravity not with steps, but with trust. So what if gravity worked sideways? Our structures would change. Our bodies would adapt. But most of all, our sense of place, of connection, of reality itself would transform. And maybe, just maybe, we'd learn to see the world not from above or below, but from beside each other. What if water burned like fire? Imagine standing at the edge of a lake, but instead of still, cool ripples, it crackles. It glows with a soft, flickering light, blue and orange flames dancing across the surface. You reach your hand in, expecting peace, but you feel heat. Not boiling, not steam, fire. The water burns, gently but surely, as if it's alive with energy. In this world, water doesn't put out fire. Water is fire. Rain doesn't soothe, it scorches. Clouds don't bring calm. They carry storms of flame. You walk the streets under an umbrella, not to stay dry, but to stay unburned. Showers become rituals of pain and resilience. Rivers wind like veins of fire across the land. Oceans burn, day and night, glowing in the distance, like suns lying flat on the earth. We would build differently, live differently. There would be no swimming, no diving. Lakes would be feared, fenced off like furnaces. Children would grow up hearing bedtime stories of how the sea once cooled the earth before it turned against us. Boats would be built like armor. Firefighters wouldn't use water. They'd run from it. You see someone crying, and their tears sizzle as they slide down their face. Love becomes dangerous. Holding someone's hand, kissing their skin could leave marks, not from passion, but from sorrow or comfort or simply being human. And yet, there's beauty in it. Rain at night looks like falling stars. Rivers glow like veins of the earth. The world is never cold, only alive, flickering, breathing heat. There's no frostbite, no snow, no ice, just warmth, constant, relentless, strange. People adapt. We evolve. Clothes resist heat. Homes are built underground or in high places where burning streams can't reach. We learn to listen to the sound of burning tides. We stop taking water for granted. We treasure every drop like a flame. Sacred, dangerous, essential. And maybe we learn something deeper. That comfort isn't always what we think. That things meant to nourish can also destroy. That beauty can hurt. That healing can come in the form of fire. So what if water burned like fire? Maybe we'd suffer. Maybe we'd change. But in that pain, in that glow, in that transformation, we might finally learn to respect the very things that shaped us, even when they burn. What if no one could lie anymore? You wake up tomorrow, and something's changed. You open your mouth to speak, and you feel it, like a weight on your chest, a resistance. You try to twist the truth, soften it, make it easier for someone to hear. But you can't. Your body freezes. Your voice fails. Lying is no longer possible. Not a little white lie. Not an excuse. Not even a well-meaning comfort. Every word that leaves your lips must be true. And it's not just you. Everyone. Everywhere. At once. The world falls silent for a moment, because truth is louder than we thought. Relationships begin to break, not because people suddenly became cruel, but because honesty is sharp, brutal, immediate. No more pretending you're fine when you're not. No more fake compliments. No more hiding your doubts, your fears, your disappointments. You look someone in the eyes and they ask, "Do you still love me?" And even if you wish the answer was yes, your silence says everything. Businesses collapse. Politics, once built on polished promises, becomes terrifyingly quiet. Only shadows melting into darkness. No leader can campaign without exposing every hidden motive. No ad can exaggerate. No influencer can pretend to be something they're not. Trust becomes currency, not because it's earned, but because now it's forced. But here's where it gets strange. Once the chaos settles, something new begins. The first real conversations, the first real apologies, the first moments where someone says, "I don't know what I'm doing. I'm scared. I was wrong," and no one can look away. Schools teach not just facts, but emotional honesty. Kids ask real questions. They learn early that truth isn't always comfortable, but it's clear, clean, stable. It doesn't shift under your feet. The world slows down. Without lies, we can't rush past our mistakes. We face them. We sit with them. We grow. But we also lose something. Stories begin to vanish. Fiction feels harder to write. Metaphor and exaggeration become rare. Comedy changes. Imagination becomes fragile. Because lies, even the playful ones, were once part of how we dreamed. Privacy fades. Secrets unravel. But authenticity, raw and painful, becomes our new reality, and maybe, just maybe, we become better listeners. Because when someone has to tell the truth, you learn to pay attention, to look past the words and into the meaning, to understand. So what if no one could lie anymore? At first, the world might burn with truth, but from the ashes, something honest might grow. A life where words are heavy but real, where every sentence matters, where silence finally makes sense. And in that silence, maybe we'd finally hear each other. What if babies were born knowing everything but forgot it over time? Imagine a child entering the world, eyes wide, not with confusion, but with a kind of ancient knowing. No one understands it at first, the way their gaze lingers, the way their tiny fingers pause midair, as if they've touched something invisible, as if they remember things no one taught them. The universe in all its complexity, galaxies spinning, oceans rising, love, loss, time itself. It lives inside them, like a glowing thread woven deep into their being. And for a little while, it shines. They can't speak yet, but they understand. Not language, but meaning. The truth behind things, the rhythm behind every heartbeat, the silence between every word. A baby looks into your eyes and you feel seen, not judged, just understood. But slowly, that thread begins to fade. It doesn't disappear all at once. It unravels gently, day by day. First, they forget the stars they've never seen. Then the voices that used to echo in dreams. Then the truths too large to hold. And in its place, we teach them. We give them names for things. We show them letters and numbers, rules and expectations. We shape them into what we know. And in doing so, the knowing they were born with slips away, like mist in morning light. They cry more. They doubt. They ask questions they once understood in silence. Why do people hurt each other? Why do we grow old? Why is there so much beauty and so much pain? They ask and we answer. But our answers are small compared to what they once knew. And maybe that's the cost of being human, to be born knowing everything and to live a life trying to remember. As adults, we chase those forgotten fragments in music that moves us, in art that stirs something wordless, in moments of déjà vu, when time folds for just a second and something ancient stirs beneath the surface. Some say wisdom comes with age, but maybe it comes and then it leaves. And life is the long, winding path back to what we once carried so effortlessly. So what if babies were born knowing everything but forgot it over time? Maybe it would change how we love them, not just as blank slates or innocent beginnings, but as ancient souls passing through us. Maybe we'd listen more, watch more closely, wonder what they see when they stare off at nothing. Maybe we'd understand that learning isn't always about gaining, but remembering that the questions we ask at 40 might be the same ones we whispered in our cradle. And maybe, just maybe, when we sit still enough, when we dream, when we love without needing to be right, some of it comes back, not as facts or answers, but as quiet knowing, like the warmth of something we forgot we missed. What if babies were born knowing everything? Maybe we still are. We've just forgotten, and that's okay. because remembering is the journey, and you're already on your way. What if thoughts could be heard by everyone around you? Not the ones you choose to share, not the practiced words or the polite replies, but the raw, unfiltered thoughts, the ones that pass through your mind in silence, the ones you bury before they reach your lips, the ones you think no one hears. Now imagine they do. You're sitting in a crowded room. A soft hum of voices lingers in the air, but beneath it, another sound begins to rise. Not speech exactly, something quieter, more intimate, a drifting echo of emotion, glimpses of words before they're spoken, half-formed fears, secret wishes, flickers of memory. At first, it's overwhelming. You hear the stranger next to you silently pleading not to be noticed. A friend smiling at you while secretly envying your confidence. A child worrying if they're enough. You hear kindness and cruelty, joy and regret. Love so loud it hurts. Insecurities so sharp they sting. And your own thoughts, they're no longer yours alone. That judgment you didn't mean, heard. That self-doubt you hide so well, heard. That quiet longing you never speak of, heard. Nothing is private anymore. Not even your mind. People begin to withdraw. Eye contact becomes unbearable. Crowds grow silent, not from lack of talk, but because no one can stop the flood. You can't lie anymore. Not to others, not to yourself. The truth is always humming, just beneath the surface. But then, something shifts. The fear softens, because everyone is exposed. And in that shared vulnerability, something unexpected grows. Understanding. You begin to realize everyone is just as tangled, just as messy, just as full of contradictions as you are. The friend who seems so put together, she's unraveling inside. The man you thought was cold, he's just afraid. The one who seems to have it all, he doesn't believe he deserves any of it. Judgment fades. Empathy blooms. You start hearing not just thoughts, but stories, patterns, wounds, desperate hopes. The kind of things we spend lifetimes trying to express, now laid bare in a single breathless instant. And suddenly, it feels safe. You don't need to pretend. You don't need to rehearse your lines. You think, and you are, fully, transparently. Arguments become rare. Misunderstandings vanish, because everyone finally sees the full picture, not just the words, but the truth behind them. Yes, some secrets hurt when exposed, but silence has always been a sharp blade too. And now, we're free. What if thoughts could be heard by everyone around you? Maybe for a while, the world would fall apart. but maybe it would fall back together in a new, quieter way. One where masks are unnecessary, where love doesn't need to be spoken to be known, where pain is met with gentleness, not confusion, and where finally the voice inside your head finds peace in being understood. Because when every mind is an open window, there's nothing left to hide. What if mirrors showed who you really are, not what you look like? What if mirrors didn't reflect your face, but your truth? Not your skin, not your smile, not the way your eyes catch the light. No. Imagine standing in front of a mirror and seeing everything you've hidden. The raw, tangled reality of who you are. Not what the world sees, but what you carry inside. You wake up one morning. You stumble into the bathroom, half asleep, expecting the same reflection. But something's different. The mirror doesn't show your face. Instead, it shows something deeper. You lean in, confused. There's no hair, no eyes, no shape at all. Just presence. Your fears swirl in the glass. Your regrets. That one lie you told and never confessed. That kindness you gave when no one saw. That heartbreak you carry like a quiet scar. The dreams you abandoned. The ones you still secretly nurture. The mirror doesn't judge, it just reveals. You step back, startled. You've never really seen yourself before. Not like this. Now imagine. Every mirror works this way. In your home, in your car, in store windows. They all reflect the story beneath the surface. You start noticing things. The person who always looks perfect, their mirror pulses with loneliness. The one who avoids eye contact, their reflection glows with unspoken wisdom. The stranger who brushed past you without a word, their mirror trembles with grief they never talk about. And then you begin to understand. Looks never told the truth. They were distractions, masks, mirrors of light, not of soul. But now, the world can't hide anymore. In this new reality, beauty transforms. It's no longer in symmetry or skin tone. It's in forgiveness, in resilience, in courage. Some people's reflections shine like sunrise, not because they're flawless, but because they've faced darkness and stayed kind. And slowly, society shifts. We stop obsessing over surface. We start listening, loving, not for appearance, but for essence. The job interview, you're not judged by your posture, but by your patience. The first date, they don't care about your clothes. They care about the tenderness in your mirror. Even strangers on the street, they smile because they can see you now. But here's the question. Would you still glance in the mirror as often if it didn't flatter you, but confront you? Would you dare to look? Because the mirror doesn't just show your beauty, it shows your shadow too. Your envy, your pride, the things you've denied, even to yourself. And yet, that's where the magic lies. Not in perfection, but in honesty. What if mirrors showed who you really are, not what you look like? Maybe we'd finally begin to heal. Maybe we'd stop performing and start being. Maybe we'd cry more and laugh deeper and say, "I'm sorry," without waiting. Because the mirror would remind us truth is not weakness. Vulnerability is not failure. It's the beginning of becoming. And when we finally meet our own eyes in that kind of mirror, we might whisper for the first time in our lives, "I see you."